Hey, what's up guys, it's Theo from Concept. So today we are going to create a business flyer like this one in Adobe Photoshop. So let's just get started.
Welcome to Concept. Click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of our future videos.
Alright, so let's go ahead and open up our application. For this tutorial, I'll be using Adobe Photoshop CC 2019 and I'll go ahead and create a new document. Now I'm going to set my width and height to the size of an A4, so in case you don't see it here, just go to print and select A4 and I'll click on create. Alright, now the first thing I'm going to do is actually align everything at the center, so hold down Ctrl and press R. Now you're going to get this rulers at the corner. Use your mouse to click from the left hand side and place it right at the center. Once you get to the center, it's just going to snap in like so. Now grab the zoom tool using Z on your keyboard and click fit screen. So this will fit the entire screen. I can go ahead and hide my rulers now, so hold down Ctrl and press R one more time. So these are the images I'm going to be using for this tutorial. I have my main image in here. If I move to the right, you can see these are the other images I'm going to be using. So 4 images in total. The first one I'm going to import in my work is this one. So I just click and drag this onto Photoshop and just release it in here like so. Now I'm going to adjust this by pushing this slightly to the top. I think somewhere around here is okay, and I'll click on OK. So what I'm going to do is actually divide this into 2 portions. So with the rectangle tool selected, draw a rectangle like so. I think this is okay. So I'll use the move tool and bring this somewhere around here and stretch it out like so. So if I put this to the top, I can pretty much cover up to this area. So I think somewhere around here is okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring this to the top. This is where I want my image to show. So I'll click on OK. Now bring the rectangle just beneath the image, this first image, and right click on the image itself and go to create clipping mask. So what this is going to do is the image is only going to show where this rectangle is. So if I go ahead and move the rectangle down, you can see that that is only where the image is showing. This is what we want. I think I will stretch out the rectangle a little bit. I think somewhere around here should be fine, and I'll click on OK. Then I'm going to duplicate this image, so Ctrl J on your keyboard, or just click and drag and drop it onto this new layer icon right here. Once you release it, it should create a copy. Now I'll right click the second one and go to release clipping mask, so it's going to show in full screen. Now I'll put this one beneath the rectangle, so let's call this image below. You can just double click on name to change it. So I'll put this just beneath the rectangle by clicking and dragging, and I'll place this somewhere around here. So this is the second one, so I want it to be I think somewhere around here. I should even stretch it out. Don't worry about this, we'll just be blurring it out, so it shouldn't be a problem. And I'll click on create. So I'll go to filter, I'll go to blur, and I'll select Gaussian blur. Now I'm going to set the Gaussian blur radius to about 30 pixels, and I'll just click on OK. So you can see we have this blurred image at the background. This is what we are going to use for now. So you know what, to make this simple for us, let's select these 3 layers and hit on Ctrl G to group them up, or just bring them to the group icon, which is right here, and just release. So this is going to create a group for us. Now let's call this images for now. So we are going to create another group. Just click on this icon and let's call that main text. So for the main text, I'll be using a font called Gotham. So I just click on the type tool, make sure that it's set to horizontal type tool, and this is the font I'm using, Gotham Black, and I'll just type my text in here. So this tutorial is for wig making, and I'll click on the center icon right here to keep it at the center. Somewhere around here should be just fine. I'll highlight everything and click on this icon right here to change the color. So I'll be using white in this tutorial. Click on OK. Now the size is at 45 points. I think it's too small, so with the text still highlighted, I'll go up here and I'll change it to about 72, or probably let's change it to 60. I think 60 is okay, and I'll click on OK. Now you can see that because the text is white, it is also in our image. So we want to make this come out from the image. So what I'll do is, with the text still selected, go into FX and click on drop shadow. Now once you are in the drop shadow, I'm going to set my opacity, which means how opaque I want the drop shadow to be. So if I turn it off and on, you can see that there's a shadow dropping on the image. Now set the opacity to about 50. I'll set the distance right around 30. Yours might be different, so just play around the sliders and see which works for you. I'll probably use 100 pixels for this, and once I have that, I'll just click on OK. Now there are a couple of texts I also want to add in, so if I zoom in, I'm going to grab my type tool and type in the word learn. Now this time around, I'm not going to be using the Gotham black, so I'll click on this arrow and change it to the normal Gotham font, and also change it from light italic to just the book version. And I'll also reduce the size to about 30 points, or probably 24. I think 24 is okay, and I'll have it hovering somewhere around here. Now I want to also have a rectangle beneath it to give it a little bit of style. So the color I'm going with for the rectangle is I think BD2BB4, I think, or probably I should just change it. Well, depending on what you want to use it for, I think I'll just go with the orange I had set initially, so somewhere around here, and I'll just click on create. Okay, so I'll go to the rectangle tool and draw a rectangle like so, just beneath my text. Now you can see that the rectangle is on top of my text, so what I'll do is I'll bring the rectangle just beneath the text and have it hovering like so. Now I'll select the text learn and the rectangle, and I'll duplicate it, so using Ctrl J. Now the second one, I'll just use the move tool and I'll bring it downwards like so. So I think somewhere around here should be just fine. In case your text is not at the center, you can see from here, you can just move it slightly to the left or the right, or just use the arrow keys to do that. Now the second text, I'll grab the type tool and I'll change the second text to the name of the organization. So in this case is Glam Wix Revamp. There's an actual place, so in case you are interested in Wix, you can also contact them. And I'll use the move tool to just play around with the length of my rectangle, so I'll just stretch it out like so and just click on OK. Now I'll go back to the zoom tool and I'll click fit screen. So I think this is looking quite nice already. So what I'm going to do is, for the main text, I think we are probably done. I can also just move it slightly to the top. I think somewhere here, around here should be just fine. I'm going to create another group. Let's call this group items. Now for the items, I'm going to be creating 3 rectangles. So let's create one like so. I'll just use the move tool to resize it. Something like this should be just fine. I'll click on OK, and let's change the color by double clicking over here. So since this is a shape, anytime you have a shape, you can just double click over here to change the color. So I'll just be using this color from the previous colors I was using, and just click on OK. Now I'm going to just duplicate this, so Ctrl J, or just click and drag whilst holding down the Alt key, and I'll resize it to something like so. I think this is nice, and just click on OK. Now let's bring this second one beneath our text. You know what, just to prevent ourselves from getting confused, let's call this center. So you can see the moment I select, I get these borders around it, so I know which shape I am using at the moment. So I'll double click and call this right, so I know that is the one on the right. Hold down Ctrl and press J to duplicate, and I'll call this left because I'll be sending that to the left hand side. So once I have that, I'll just click and drag whilst holding down the shift key so that it doesn't move away from the horizontal axis. So something like this is okay. Now I'm going to have left and right just beneath center. So select center and go to FX, and also add a drop shadow so that it lines up like so. So you can see this is how it looks without the drop shadow and with the drop shadow. And I'll just click on OK. So you know what, let's just zoom in a little bit and type in the rest of our text. So I'll type something like 6 days program, highlight everything, and I'll change the font style to whatever I want. So in this case, I'll just be using Gotham Black. I'm going to increase the size of the 6 days to about 48, and I'll place this at the center and just click on OK. So that is going to be on top of the center rectangle. Now go over to the left and I'll type in my text. Make sure you don't click on the rectangle itself, so just type somewhere else and just bring your text in there. So I'll type something like courses, and I'll also put this somewhere around here. In case you have other text, you can just add it in there. So I'll just type in some gibberish. Okay, so these are the 3 I'm going to be using. This time around, I'll align them to the left and just have them hovering somewhere around here. I'm also going to change the font to the normal Gotham so that I have a bit of differentiation between the main text or the header text and the supplementary text. So something like this should be okay. I can also use the move tool while selecting these 2 texts using the Control or Shift, and I'll place this somewhere around here, or probably move it to the right a little bit. Now I want to have something similar on the right hand side, so Ctrl J to duplicate. Now I'll bring the second one over here, the duplicate, I'll bring it over to the left, grab the type tool, select the second text or the supplementary text, and I'll click on right align so that this one will be aligned to the right. So I think something like this is okay. Now let's zoom out of it to screen and see what we are working with. This is quite nice. So let's just hide that for now. There was something I was supposed to create here, but I forgot, so let's just do that right now. So go down here and create another group, and let's call this group header. So this group is usually where we put our logos, but since we don't have logo for this tutorial, we are just going to create something quite unique. So go into the shapes option. This time around we'll be selecting rounded rectangle tool, and I will make the radius about 20. So if I draw like this and I zoom in, you can see that the rectangle is curved at the sides. So that's what the rounded rectangle does. Then I'll grab the move tool and I'll place it somewhere around here. Let's stretch it out. I think something like this is okay. Now I'll be pulling this over to the corner like so, and I'll hold down the Control key. So if you know what, let me just zoom in so that you can see. So I'll go back to the move tool, I'll hold down the Control key. So without holding down the Control key, this is how my cursor looks like. The moment I hold it down, it changes to this cursor, which you can see from here. So once I have that, I'll just click and I'll bring this over here like so. Then I'll move over to this edge, also hold down the Control key, and I'll just click and pull this over here like so. So the Control key allows us to deform our shape, and I'll just click on OK. So if I go back to the zoom tool and fit this to screen, this is what we have. I think this is okay, but in case you want to change it, you can just use the Control key to change it again, along with the move tool of course. So I'll grab the type tool and I'll type in the name of the organization or the design. So that is going to be Glam Makeup Studio. Now I'm going to let this be a left align, and I'll pull this over to the top like so. So let's zoom in and see what we are working with. Now with the type tool still selected, I'm going to change this font to Gotham Black because I want it to be thick, and probably make this 24. Then I'll change this to about 12. Let's go a little bit lower, 8. Okay, I think 8 is okay. Let's try 9 and see. Okay, I think I'll work with 9, and I'll just be using the normal Gotham font for this. So the top one is going to be the main highlight. So if I use the zoom tool and fit this to screen, this is what we have. Now I'm noticing that our image is also looking quite weird over here. So what we are going to do is just push 1, 2, 3 items to the top. So with the move tool still selected, we use the move tool for moving items. Let's just collapse this. I'll select items over here and move this to the top. Now once you do this, we are also covering our text. So what I'll do is I'll move the main text also to the top like so. And this is looking quite nice. Let's create another group for the bottom, and we are going to add in some few information. So I'll click on create group. Let's call this date. This is quite important if you want to keep your work organized. Now go into the rectangle tool. Let's create another rectangle like so. Use the move tool to stretch it out however we want it. So I think something like this is okay. Now try to place this at the center and click on OK. So we are going to type in this, so grab the type tool and type in something. So let's just say 20th August. Wow, I can't type today. Make sure it's center aligned, and I'll place this at the center. Now once I have this, I think I should probably select the rectangle and reduce the size. So I think something like this should be okay. Now I'm going to create another group. Let's call this group bottom, because I don't have any name coming up right now. Let's create a rectangle like so. Don't worry about the size because you can always alter it using the move tool. So I'll place this somewhere around here, stretch it out, and probably make it a bit smaller. I think something like this is okay. Click on OK. Now I don't want this color to be at the bottom. I want to change it to this. So like I said previously, if it is a shape, just double click over here. So if it's a rectangle, a square, triangle, as long as it's a shape, then I'll click on this area to sample this color. Now this is nice, and I'll click on OK. So over here we are just going to be adding in the rest of our images. So that's this 1, 2 and 3. But before we can do that, we have to create some circles, and we are going to put the images on those circles. So to create a circle, just go into the shapes tool, right click over here and select ellipse tool, ellipse for circles. Just click and drag whilst holding down the shift key so that you get a perfect circle. If you don't hold down the shift key, this is what you are going to get, something like this. So hold down the shift key to get a perfect circle. Now release to create the shape. Now the color of the shape doesn't really matter because it's not going to show. So for the first shape, I'm going to have it somewhere around here. I think this is okay. So you are going to duplicate this, Ctrl J, and bring the second one somewhere around here. Duplicate one more time, Ctrl J, and bring the third one somewhere around here. I think this one is a little bit to the right hand side, so I'll just bring it to the left like so. This is looking quite nice. Now look over here. You can see that our circle is on top of the rectangle. I don't want that. I want them to be at the back. So I'll select these 3 circles and I'll put them underneath the rectangle. So everything is going to show at the bottom like so. And I think if I zoom in, you can see that the rectangle is also showing. So I'll just stretch it out to cover the area. Let's fit this back to screen. Alright, so this is our shape. Let's call this right. Let's call this center. And let's call this left. So let's import our images. I'll start off with this one. You know what, let's start off with this one because I say she, but it's an it. So it is looking over to the left. So that's what we are going to place at the right. So just click and drag and drop it onto your Photoshop image or document like so. Click on OK. Now I'm going to have it on top of the right circle, which is this one, you can see from here. And I'm just going to put it on top like so. So once I have it on top, just right click on the image, go to create clipping mask. So what this is going to do is going to show only at where that rectangle is, only at where that circle is. So somewhere around here. I think this is looking quite nice. Now let's go back to our file explorer. This is looking to the right, so we'll bring it over to the left and I'll place it here like so. Have it like this. Same process. Before I can create a clipping mask, I have to make sure it is on top of that layer. So on top of that why do I keep saying rectangle? On top of that circle. Right click and go to what? Create clipping mask, and it's only going to show over there. So I think somewhere around here should be fine. I want to make it seem like they are all about the same size, so I'll just reduce this slightly so that their head size will look quite identical. This is not important, but little details also make the artwork look nicer. So I'll go back and select the last one, bring it into Photoshop over here. I'll put this on it like so. Make sure that that image is on top of the circle, which is the center circle. Right click and go to create clipping mask, and we have our images like this. So this is looking quite cool. So if I zoom in, grab the type tool and add in the rest of the information. So you can say something like contact us on, then add in your information. If you also have some social media handles, you can also add in those, and you can get a nice design. This is a work I have already created for a client, so I'm not going to be going too much into details, but this is just a brief overview in case you want to create something on your own. There's one more thing I want to do. The image at the bottom here, the blurred image, is not looking quite nice, so let's just add a rectangle on top and make it look nicer. So that is going to be under images, that is somewhere around here, and I'm just going to be using this as that same rectangle. So what I'll do is I'll just duplicate, Ctrl J, and I have the one at the bottom. Using the move tool, I'll just click and drag that over here, so you can see that that one is covering the image. So what I'll do is I'll go up here where we have the blend modes, and I'll change it to something I like. In my case, I'm thinking color should look quite nice, but yours might be different depending on which colors you are using. Highlight might also be nice, so depending on what looks great for you, you just go for it. In my case, I'll just be using I think highlight looks nice, or soft light, so I'll be using any of these, and this is our final work. So this is the flyer I actually created for the client, and this is what we just did in Photoshop. Anyway, as always, the PSD template is going to be linked below, so if you are interested in downloading it, I'll have it in the description, so be sure to check it out. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to watch more of our videos, hit that subscribe button, and as always, don't forget to share with your family and friends. This is Theo from Fino Concept, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.